Well, I think it's time for me to scoot on down to the other end of the couch so you can take my place on the hot cushion. Today, I'm going to discuss your fantasy football footprint and follow that up with some questions. So please keep in mind that I'm going to be very direct, to the point, and brutally honest. The questions are not necessarily going to be easy. Is that okay?
No.
All right, we're going to do it anyway.
Everybody?
What does it matter? Like, why even ask? So you're like my therapist, man, like my real life therapist. He'll be like, oh, here are the side effects for your drugs. Or he'll say like, oh, well, what do you think if we boost your dosage? I'm like, why are you asking me? Like, I shouldn't have a choice in this matter. Like, just do what you're supposed to do. Like, I told you what's going on. You do what you're supposed to do now, buddy. Don't ask my opinion. I don't know. If I did, I'd be a doctor. I'm not a doctor. You know that because you have my chart. My chart does not say anything about calling me doctor. You haven't called me doctor once. It's all been Shane. You know I'm not a doctor.
Doc, I've got an idea. What if we take the same medication dose and just mix it with a bunch of alcohol? Huh? I'm just spitballing, but you're the doctor.
Okay, before we get into the meat of this potato, I'd like to ask just a few things about you. So, question number one, what time of year do you enjoy Dynasty Fantasy Football the most?
Oh, this isn't multiple choice. Okay. Off season. I mean, all of us love the off season the most, right? Like I think 80% of us that play this game, it's because we grew up playing Madden franchise mode.
Right.
And everyone I've talked to was like, I'd get through the games, whatever. But then I'd get to the off season and I'd get to make trades and draft picks. That's what I love, the team building, the roster construction. If truth be told, I hate the slog of figuring out what guys to start every week and then realizing I picked the wrong guy again. But I'll never play best ball because off season for me.
I love that. You mentioned the Madden franchise mode. I kind of grew up on the NCAA games, and I love the college football game. And I'm the same way. It was like the recruiting of all your new college football players. That's just phenomenal. Yeah. I would make spreadsheets and chart my players and which things that John Castiglione doesn't really like it when I ask him if he is into winning college football programs versus the education that we offer at the University of Oklahoma. So yeah, I enjoyed it. But we already talked about this a little bit, but I'm gonna go ahead and ask it. Whereabouts you live in this world?
Philadelphia, in case anyone couldn't tell by my god awful Philly accent. Might be one of the ugliest accents in the world. It's just, Jesus, it is terrible. It is embarrassing. For a long time, I didn't want to do a podcast because I was like, have you heard me speak? And they're like, no, it's okay. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to get on there and people are going to vomit, but whatever. So Philly, I have this weird Philly, like I love Philly, Philly's a unique town. It's, I know we all think our towns are unique, but unless you're from Philadelphia, you're wrong. You all just live in Mediocreville, USA. That pretty much, I could cut Oklahoma and put Maine in it and no one would notice, but Philly's got a flavor all its own, I think. We make up words and people respect it and they know that they have to accept it. And then they anoint some of us kings of those fake words. So it's pretty amazing.
And sometimes they means us.
Us.
Right.
Myself. Yeah.
I went to Philly one time for a concrete canoe competition nationals when I was at the University of Oklahoma. So that was back in 2003 that we went over there into Philly, stayed at Drexel University, and drank almost all the beer in Philly. I'm pretty sure we came close to it.
Yeah. No, but Philly's really awesome. I mean, I'm sure a lot of cities are like this, but it's just something about, you go from one street and it's one vibe, and then go 2 blocks, it's another vibe. Like, if you like parks, I think Philadelphia's got one of the biggest continuous parks in the country. If you like art, it's got an amazing art scene, and it's the city of murals. There's literally you just drive around and there's murals, not just graffiti, actual murals, like paint. And there's great club scenes. There's really whatever you're looking for, you could do it. But then there's also the northeast of the city, which is almost like its own little suburb, where if you're like, well, I want to live in the city, but not really. I talk, look, I I've never left Philly. Like I've left the city, like to go other places. I've never left to live. Like I'm allowed out of the city in case anyone thinks I'm on house arrest. Um, I I honestly don't think that I'd want to live anywhere else.
That's pretty cool. All right. So obviously you've been playing fantasy football a long time. Have you ever initiated a total roster rebuild based on one player being injured or retiring early?
One player. No, your team is if you're doing something like that. Now I've blown up rosters because I thought it would just be fun to do. Um, or if I realized like this team is shit. There's no reason I made the playoffs. Like, I had the 11th highest scoring team. I shouldn't have made the playoffs.
Right.
But if your team is that bad that one player is going to make it or break it, that team's shit, and you should blow it up. But I've never been in that situation.
That's good too. There's, some negativity that can come in there with somebody who just maybe puts too much onus on one player and that just defeats them and they have that depression against their team. And, so I think it's good that you don't have that. But all right, I'm a beer guy, but when I don't drink beer, I choose whiskey. What is your favorite bourbon?
Does Jack Daniels count? I don't know
Yeah,
what that is.
bourbon.
Yeah, Jack Daniels. There you go. I've been a fan of Jack Daniels since about the age of 14. It was my first like liquor drink. Like, I drank beer for a little bit before that, 40s and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, I got that Jack Daniels in me. I was like, oh, and at 14, that's not a 14-year-old's drink. Although I guess technically legally nothing should be a 14-year-old's drink. But yeah, no, man, that's my drink. Like we'd go out to the clubs and my friends would pound beers and I'd pound Jack and Cokes just along with them, which is not a wise move, by the way. 'Cause there's many stories where it ends up like, dude, we thought you died, and I'm like, no, I'm still here.
It's weird, but I'm alive.
Yeah.
All right, so your final intro question. What is your favorite thing about fantasy lacrosse?
Fantasy lacrosse. I like the skirts. Really like the skirts. Do they wear those still? I don't.
Maybe the girls. I doubt the boys do.
Oh, they should. I mean, respect the game. If girls have to wear it, why don't boys?
I like it. I mean, they pretty much just massacre each other with the sticks in that sport. And, as a hockey player, growing up and playing in the 90s and 2000s when hockey was like not really so much hockey as it was beating each other with your stick, like I respect that about lacrosse.
I used to love, for Philly, because we've discussed that about 36 times now, but the Philadelphia Wings in the old National Lacrosse League, National Lacrosse League, won the title in I want to say the 80s, a couple times in a row. And it's funny because I'll never forget this. My substitute teacher one day was Tony Reich, who was a player on that team. But I used to love watching indoor lacrosse. Like it was just something about like, hey, he's hitting him with a stick. Like no one's gonna call. This is really. He hit him with a stick again, guys. He's hitting him with a stick, and this is a-okay. Yeah, no, that. Oh man, I never understood why indoor lacrosse didn't make it big.
It's just like anything. If it's not Olympics or some sort of a big sanctioned event, they eventually kind of die on the vine.
Yeah.
So since this is a kind of brain-oriented podcast, female lacrosse or women's lacrosse is one of the most dangerous sports for concussions, by the way, if you didn't know. Even though you can't do, as Shane was describing, whack people with sticks, that's not allowed, but they don't wear headgear in women's lacrosse. They just wear the protective goggles. But, I mean, you've probably held a lacrosse ball or seen one at some point. And any of those shots, you get almost one of those a game, it seems like. And so I don't know why they're not wearing helmets. That's just
probably. I mean, they should probably wear like full body armor. Those balls are made of brick, with I think yarn on the outside. I think it's yarn and brick, concrete, whatever you call brick, whatever goes into brick. I don't know. I think brick is descriptive enough. Yeah, I'm surprised more people don't die playing lacrosse. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, brick is actually just a cement and water partial sand mix. So for those other civil engineers out there, that's what a brick is.
And we're just building this conversation down.
Actually, the CMU bricks are that way, but that's what I figure you would build a ball out of. Now it's time for my hard-hitting analysis and drama-laden questions. Are you ready?
Do I have a choice?
No.
I think we
Question
go
number
through-
one.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Shane, we traded in the Dynasty Fantasy Eliminator run by John Bosch. The trade was a small amount of auction cash and Alexander Madison for Darius Geis. Likely, you do not remember which side of the trade you were on, as this is the Dow of Shane. If we were to make this trade again today, what is the highest point in South America?
Highest point in South America. Are we talking like mountain range?
Yes.
Oh, then I've literally no idea. But if we were literally talking the closest point to North America, still wouldn't have an idea. So I'm just
Okay, how does that help?
I'm gonna go with Mount Planteña.
Yeah, that's pretty much not anywhere close, but it's Aconcagua, part of the Andes Mountains in Argentina.
Argentina. Yeah, that was my next guess.
Right.
Yeah.
It was close, though. You're close. No points awarded, but you were close.
Plantaña is in Argentina, isn't it?
Plantaña?
That's a banana, isn't it? Isn't it just
close
a
to
banana? Is this a real mountain? Did I just?
No, I don't
there's
know.
no way.
I heard you say something related to plantain, and so I went.
Yeah, I appreciate you trying to clean that up, but like, no. If anyone's listening, I had no idea. Geography is clearly not my strength. So
All right,
this
well,
is going well.
That definitely will be the only geography-related question that I ask you. Question number 2. When answering my hard-hitting questions, it is very difficult to be right. Just right now, I was thinking of saying something that would make this question outright problematic for you. You are probably getting finger cramps from the quantity of times you are currently swiping right. What is the side of the center that the right defensive end is lined up?
Side. See, I'm a diagram guy. Side of the center. So which side is he on? Like the right defensive end. Left tackle. Left.
Left is correct.
Left. Yes.
All right, you didn't fall for the fact that I said right about 5 times during that question. You still
No.
worked
See,
out.
I am. Never mind. I won't get into it. But I've had very many word problem questions, so I'm okay with those. I just have to draw things. Very visual. Go ahead. I'm winning. By the way,
That's good. You've got a
one
point.
for
Which
two.
is better. I think you might be second all time now.
Not bad.
Not bad. Question number 3. Shane, you have some kids. Rich has a few. I have one, and Jeremy has a dog. Often dogs are like children, as you must take them outside a few times a day so they can urinate. When you take a dog out too long, you get a hot dog, but not a hot dog you cook or a hot dog tight end Jared cook, because that dog is one Jeremy wouldn't bite. A Philly cheesesteak is a drastically overrated meal, so what is the definition of a philomath?
Let's see. So Philomath, yeah, I can't even pretend to have any freaking clue at all. And my mic is too close to my keyboard, so I'm not even going to try to look it up. But let's see. It's something Greek. It's
Very
Greek.
true.
I know that, as most words that originated from the Greek. Philadelphia, brotherly, hating your brother.
It's so close. It's a lover of learning.
God, but that's not even close.
Yeah, you were just right there.
Yeah, so close.
Question number 4. In the movie The Matrix, there was a scene where Keanu Reeves was fairly new to entering the made-up world called The Matrix. He walks by a woman wearing a red dress who is very easy to look at. Keanu even turns his head to get a second look, only to find out that the lady is now a middle-aged male in a business suit. Women turning into men upon second glance is a common occurrence in the online dating apps. Can you name the actor who played boxer Rocky Balboa?
Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, I'm sorry. The answer is yes. You obviously know who the actor is who played Rocky Balboa. I just wanted to know if you could name him.
That is perfect. I love that.
So no, you got that wrong.
Oh, that was maybe the best thing I've ever heard in my life.
Well, Shane, thank you for your time. I appreciate your candid and truthful answers and my insightful and hard-hitting analysis.